6 years is no small stretch of time. In a music industry that moves at breakneck speed, where trends rise and collapse within weeks, sometimes days, 6 years feels like an entire era. Yet there is something undeniably special about Sour Candy, the surprise collaboration between Lady Gaga and BLACKPINK released in May 2020 that has kept it alive in the hearts and playlists of millions around the world. Not simply because of its irresistibly sweet melody, not only because of its deceptively simple lyrics, but because the song was born in a moment the world will never forget, the era of a global pandemic that changed absolutely everything. When Sour Candy first appeared without any prior announcement, the world was in a deeply unusual state. Lockdowns had been imposed across nearly every corner of the globe. Concerts were canceled. Recording studios fell silent. The entertainment industry was brought to its knees. It was in the middle of that suffocating stillness that a song suddenly appeared out of nowhere, like an unexpected sweet surprise in the middle of the bitterness that so many people were living through. Lady Gaga, who was then preparing to release her boldest and most personal album, Chromatica, chose to introduce it to the world in the most unconventional way possible, by dropping a massive collaboration with zero warning, no excessive promotion, and no manufactured drama. And the world responded instantly and overwhelmingly. Lady Gaga needs no introduction on the global music stage. Since her explosive arrival with Just Dance and Poker Face more than a decade earlier, she had already proven herself to be one of the most fearless and most gifted artists of her generation. She did not merely sing songs, she constructed entire worlds. Each of her albums was a complete artistic journey, from the visual concepts down to the philosophy embedded in every lyric. Chromatica itself was born from deeply personal wounds, Gaga's battles with chronic pain, trauma, and her search to rediscover joy through the language of dance music. The album was a scream and an embrace at the same time. And Sour Candy was the doorway into that world, a door she chose to open alongside for extraordinary women from South Korea. By 2020, BLACKPINK was no longer simply another K-pop group. Jennie, Lisa, Rose, and Jisoo had long surpassed the boundaries of genre, breaking into global markets in ways no K-pop act had ever managed before. They were a cultural phenomenon. Every appearance they made was an event. Every song released sent shockwaves through the music industry. But joining forces in a collaboration with Lady Gaga, one of the biggest icons in Western entertainment, was something different altogether. This was not merely about music. This was the meeting of two worlds that had long seemed to exist on entirely separate planets. What made Sour Candy so striking was how naturally those two worlds came together. Nothing felt forced. Lady Gaga brought the theatrical, emotionally charged energy that had always been her signature, while BLACKPINK delivered the sharpness and infectious vitality that made K-pop so impossible to resist. The back and forth between English and Korean in the song's lyrics was not a commercial gimmick. It felt like a genuine conversation between two musical forces that deeply respected each other. I'm sour candy, so sweet then I get a little angry. That line is deceptively simple, yet it carries an extraordinary depth. Sweet on the outside, but something churning beneath the surface. There is a duality there that is deeply human. Softness concealing strength, warmth containing edge. In the context of a pandemic, those lyrics felt remarkably relevant. Millions of people around the world were learning to mask their anxiety behind virtual smiles, learning to appear perfectly fine on video calls while inside. A storm raged with no clear end in sight. Sour Candy became a kind of collective confession that it was okay to be sweet and angry at the same time, to be gentle and fierce all at once, to dance while quietly falling apart. The numbers the song achieved on its very first day of release spoke louder than any review or critique ever could. 21.8 million YouTube views in a single day, 3.67 million Spotify streams, a figure that, even for an artist of Lady Gaga's stature, was remarkable by any measure. And then came the Billboard Hot 100, a debut at number 33, making Sour Candy the first BLACKPINK song to ever crack the top 40 of America's most prestigious music chart. that achievement was not just a statistic. It was a historical marker. It was proof that geographic and linguistic borders in music were becoming increasingly irrelevant, that the world had truly become one vast, open stage where everything was possible. Yet behind all that glitter and record-breaking, there was a quiet sadness. Sour Candy never received an official music video. The live performances that had been planned, including a highly anticipated appearance together at Coachella, never came to be. The pandemic stole all of that. It stole the moment when millions of fans could have watched Lady Gaga and BLACKPINK standing on the same stage, singing that song together, creating memories that could have lasted a lifetime. Imagine what that would have felt like for women from Seoul standing beneath the blazing Coachella sun alongside one of the greatest performers the world has ever seen, while hundreds of thousands of voices sang along in English and Korean simultaneously. That was supposed to happen. It never did. And it is precisely because of that absence that Sour Candy carries a kind of bittersweet grief within it. It is a perfect song without a perfect ending. It is a story that was never fully told. The fans, who in the world of K-pop are known for their extraordinary loyalty and creativity, have continued to live with that incompleteness. They make fan-edited videos. They splice together concert clips to imagine what a live performance might have looked like. They share fragments of moments from BLACKPINK's and Lady Gaga's separate tours, trying to stitch together two worlds that should have met but never quite did on the same physical stage. 6 years later, Sour Candy has surpassed 420 million streams on Spotify, and that number continues to climb every single day. There is something profoundly fascinating about that fact. A song that never had a music video, that was never performed live by all its collaborators standing together, that was born in the most isolated period of modern history, has accumulated nearly 500 million streams and shows no signs of slowing down. That is not luck. That is evidence of something far deeper, the power of music to forge connections that transcend every physical limitation imaginable. In those 6 years, so much has changed. Lady Gaga has released more music, graced more stages, and continued to prove that she is one of the most multidimensional artists of her time. BLACKPINK too has traveled an extraordinary road. World tours, further international collaborations, achievement after achievement stacking up year after year. Jennie, Lisa, Rose, and Jisoo have each embarked on solo careers that demonstrate clearly they are not only luminous as a group, but as individuals with their own distinct voices and artistic identities. The music world has turned many times over since May 2020, but Sour Candy remains. It has not aged. Every time someone discovers it for the first time, a teenager just falling into the rabbit hole of BLACKPINK's discography, or a longtime Lady Gaga fan who somehow missed it back then, the reaction is almost always the same: delighted surprise, followed by an immediate urge to press play again. Because Sour Candy is the kind of song that feels exactly like its name. The first bite of something that tastes precisely as you imagined it would, sweet and slightly sharp and wholly impossible to stop consuming. There is also a dimension far bigger than music alone embedded in the legacy of the song. Sour Candy stands as one of the pivotal moments in K-pop's long march toward true global dominance. Before the song existed, there were already unmistakable signals that K-pop was heading somewhere unstoppable. BTS dismantling record after record, BLACKPINK themselves continuously expanding their reach into Western markets. But the collaboration with Lady Gaga, in its sudden and audacious arrival, felt like an official acknowledgement that K-pop was no longer music from Korea that needed to be explained or contextualized for Western audiences, but world music speaking a language that everyone simply understood. That collaboration also opened doors for countless cross-cultural partnerships that followed in the years after. When two forces as formidable as Lady Gaga and BLACKPINK could meet in a single song and produce something that felt completely organic, the message sent to the music industry was unmistakably clear. The walls we thought divided us were never as solid as we imagined. Music is music. Language is merely one of many vessels for delivering it. For the fans celebrating 6 years of Sour Candy, today, the nostalgia they feel is not simply longing for the song itself. It is a longing for a moment, A moment when the world was sitting in darkness, and suddenly something sweet and luminous appeared without invitation or warning. When music proved that it did not need a stage or a spotlight to reach inside someone and rearrange something. When a single song could serve as a hug for millions of people who were not allowed to hug each other because a virus had rewritten the rules of human contact. Sour Candy is a reminder that music, at its most essential, is about connection between artist and listener, between two cultures that might never cross paths in ordinary life, between the past and the present, between what was supposed to happen and what actually did. And perhaps it is in that very distance, in the space between the music video that was never made and the Coachella performance that never existed, that Sour Candy finds its deepest and most enduring meaning. 6 years have passed, and still, the song sounds like it dropped just yesterday.